think he's quite comfortable where he is right now, which is all eyes are on the president, and both allies and adversaries have to hedge to see where he goes.
The President Donald Trump has said the US is considering very strong military options to intervene in Iran amid the ongoing protests in that country. Nearly 500 protesters have been confirmed dead, according to a US-based human rights group. The demonstrations are the largest that Iran has seen in more than 15 years. Iran's foreign minister has insisted that the situation is under control. Well, joining me now is Behnam Ben Taleblu, Senior Director of the Iran Program at the Foundation for Defense of Democracries think tank based in Washington. Behnam, good afternoon.
Great to be with you. Thanks, Hugo.
Thanks for being with us. So, look, Donald Trump has said Iran has contacted the US to begin negotiations. What's the likelihood of US military intervention in the capital at this point?
Well, as the president likes to say, he has all the cards here. It's really just a matter of political interest, political risk tolerance, pathways for escalation, and where the president does see a victory here. But make no mistake, when it comes to Iran policy, he's been quite keen to draw a sharp contrast to President Obama. He's, lived up to that contrast when it came to leaving the Obama-era nuclear deal, as well as standing with Iranian protesters in the past. But nothing would, do an about face to that contrast and turn it into a comparison. If in the middle of street protests, the president starts negotiating with the Islamic Republic. And right now, the big question in Washington is which direction will the president go in? On Air Force One just yesterday, he talked about both the potential to do something, hinting at something kinetic, but perhaps not explicit against Iran because they were beginning to cross his red line. I think that's the understatement of the year so far, as well as expressing a willingness to negotiate, saying that the Iranians just the day before had reached out to him. So this could be some kind of psychological warfare, or this could be more evidence that the president was always interested in a deal. And I think he's quite comfortable where he is right now, which is all eyes are on the president, and both allies and adversaries have to hedge to see where he goes.
Yeah, indeed. Look, within Iran, historically, protests have not been hugely successful, except, I suppose, for once when they famously were. Does this time seem like it might be a bit different?
It does seem drastically different. I have to tell you, in the 46, 47 years of the Islamic Republic, this is the most significant vector of pressure from the street against the state. There's no two ways about it. This is not the protests of the reform movement from 99 or 2009. What we're seeing is the latest installation of a movie we've been seeing in the battle for power in Iran from the street against the state. And we really began to see that in 2017 to present, where Iranians would use non-political vectors to get out onto the street to have expressly political grievances. So whether they were triggered by an economic issue, an environmental issue, or a social issue, Iranians have been using every possible avenue to get out there. And now that you have 15, 16 days now of protests, 3, 4 days now of a national internet blackout, thousands killed, this is a game changer, and the Rubicon really has been crossed.
I mean, as you say, yeah, we're talking about many, many people being killed. There are images and videos of families searching through bodies to find their loved ones, and it's not just Donald Trump who's called for an end to the violence. But I'm interested to know what impact does it have when foreign leaders, call for intervention, just get involved? Does that aid the regime? Does that add fuel to the fire? Is that always welcome?
Well, traditionally, it hasn't always been welcome, but we're not in traditional circumstances. Long ago, the conventional wisdom was torpedoed that even if you gave rhetorical support to protesters, it would be seen as the kiss of death and that this would somehow bolster the regime's narrative. Quite frankly, when you have a government like the Islamic Republic of Iran acting like it does at home and abroad, we shouldn't be giving a hoot about what the regime's narrative is. We should be thinking about our interests here in the West. We should be thinking about the welfare of the Iranian people. And quite frankly, if we're thinking to right size the Western or American or whatnot footprint in the Middle East, that really does begin with getting the arsonist out of the fires. And the arsonist has been the Islamic Republic of Iran. And guess what? I think there's not that many places in the region where you can kind of marry your head and your heart, marry your strategy and your values in the Middle East. It's a complex region. But if you're able to flip the script on the Ayatollahs and get really, one of the most pro-Western, pro-American, pro-Israeli populations to be able to take charge of their destiny, I don't think that's missionary work. I actually think that's pretty astute foreign policy, particularly when at this time, they're literally naming streets in Iran after Trump. They're really sending videos in English, replete with curses and all, talking about trying to get help. So again, going back to, the president's calculus, not only are we kind of past the Rubicon of this being a kiss of death, this would be both a strategic and a moral own goal. not to stand with the protesters in practice rather than just in principle.
Finally, Behnam, look, we know there's been a nationwide blackout for the internet in Iran for the last 4 days. Should we see that as being a desire to stop news getting out by the regime, or is it to stop protesters being able to coordinate themselves?
Oh, it's several factors. And the moment we saw the national internet blackout, my heart sank because it reminded me of November 2019, where under the cover of an internet blackout, that's when the regime killed as many as 1,500 people in just a matter of days, quite literally using weapons of war. And that was a tactic they refined to throttle and then later turn off the internet in smaller cycles, particularly during parts of the 12-day war to prevent videos from getting out. But I would say it's several fold. One is to prevent coordination and communication between Iranian protesters. Two is to actually get rid of a bridge that has been built between external opposition and particularly the Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi's call to actually get out and stay out onto the street and mosque, which many did not believe would work, but actually delivered beyond results. So that spooked the state. So the state is trying to cut those ties between external and internal opposition. The third, of course, is to actually prevent the images of the crackdown from coming out, so in a sense, to not feed into imagery that could be very vivid of them crossing Donald Trump's lead line. So you put all of that together, and you get a very dangerous situation where, in the day, the state recedes, and at night, the state comes in and cracks down in a brutal way on the streets, such that we read posts from Telegram and social media and Instagram where Iranians are saying that they wake up and they see the regime power washing blood off the
Mm.
streets.
Behnam Ben Taleblu, thank you very much indeed. And Behnam is based at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies think tank in Washington.